Now, a couple of things. I mentioned the Oscars last night. Now, one of the Oscar winners did a rant is a little too strong a word, but made a statement about police disproportionately killing black people, and we're going to have to address it. But also, there are now protests in a city called Elizabeth, North Carolina. A black man on whom police SWAT was serving a warrant ended up getting shot in the back of the head. Now, a whole bunch of officers have now resigned. This happened on Wednesday. There have been some protests. And so I'm watching a press conference this morning, and it's Ben Crump. Ben Crump is the lawyer who represented the family of George Floyd. He helped to negotiate a $27 million settlement that the George Floyd family received. So he's there. And at the press conference is a guy named Bakari Sellers. You probably don't know who that is, but he's a political strategist. He's a lawyer. He's a defense lawyer, appears regularly on CNN. I'm pretty sure he's a paid analyst for CNN, so he's there. And family members are there. And they're all talking about another tragic shooting of a black person. Why do these things keep on happening, yada, blah, et cetera. And as I'm watching this, I'm saying to myself, you know, the authorities there are warning that there'll be another day of civil unrest, which is code for people tearing up property. And when we talked about this last week, but I want to just elaborate on the point a little bit, if you don't mind. When MLK said that riots are the language of the unheard, he still didn't defend them or justify them. He said they were self-defeating, socially destructive, counterproductive, and that no matter how many people pick up the mantle of militancy, he said, I will still tell my brothers and sisters with love that this is not the way. Now, the man said this in the 60s, when people like Bull Connor, the Southern sheriff, Mr. McConnell, can you put up Bull Connor for me real quickly? The one who sick water hoses and dogs on black people in Birmingham, Alabama, when people like that were in charge, especially in the South. Now in the South, there are more black elected officials per capita than anywhere else. Many of the officials involved in the investigation are black. You've got a very, very sympathetic Department of Justice. In Joe Biden, you had one in Barack Obama, and every time something like this happened, what did Obama do? He came in and said, we're going to investigate to find out whether or not there's any civil rights violations. And he investigated whether or not there were any civil rights violations with the Baltimore Police Department after the death of Freddie Gray. No charges filed. We're going to investigate the NYPD after the death of Eric Gardner, the man that was selling Lucy cigarettes. Ended up dying. No civil rights charges fired. Kicked it over to the Trump administration. We're going to investigate the Michael Brown death, and we're going to find out whether or not the police officer engaged in any kind of civil rights violation. They investigated, no civil rights charges filed. My point is, there was investigation. And can't you be reasonably assured that the people involved in the investigation, i.e., the Barack Obama DOJ on down, will investigate the thing? So here's my question to all the people right now who are thinking about going into the streets. And I know you're listening to the Larry Elder Show because you love the show. Tinge of sarcasm there. We have a battery of lawyers now, like Ben Crump. Many of them are black. Many of the people in charge of the investigations are black. The mayors, many of them are black. The mayor of Brooklyn Center, where the suspect was shot by the officer who mistook her taser for her firearm for a taser. Mayor is black. And my point is this. When people took to the streets in the 60s and people thought that there was not going to be a full and thorough investigation, there were a lot of reasons why people legitimately felt there wouldn't be a full and thorough investigation, i.e. people like Bull Connor. You don't have people like that anymore. So what's the point in trashing the streets and devaluing the property for the overwhelming majority of people who have nothing to do with the violence in the streets? What's the point? given the fact that the media are watching all these things. Every time there's a killing like this, DOJ comes in, they monitor the thing. If they feel that the locals aren't doing the investigation thoroughly, they're going to come in. Media's watching this. Washington Post keeps track of every police shooting. And once again, in recent years, the police have averaged 1,000 people killed, 500 whites, 250 blacks, about the same number every single year for the last several years. And every single year for the last several years, more unarmed whites are killed than unarmed blacks. You can't name their names because the media doesn't give a damn because it doesn't fit the script. And this Oscar winner last night made this statement.
Today, the police will kill 3 people. And tomorrow, the police will kill 3 people. And the day after that, the police will kill 3 people because...
Now, that's right. For the last several years, the police have averaged killing about 3 people a day. Okay? Out of 50 million civilian police interactions, 11 million arrests, 60,000 officers assaulted, 60 officers killed, 1,000 people out of a population of 350 million. Okay, and your point is what? There should be 0?
On average, the police in America every day kill 3 people.
We got that.
Which amounts to about 1,000 people a year.
We got that.
And those people happen to disproportionately be black people.
Whoa. Disproportionately black people? Well, when you consider black people are 13% of the population and are 24% or so of these kind of I got that. But you cannot ignore offending rates. The police are 2.5 times more likely to kill a black person. That is true. A young black person is anywhere from 8 to 10 times more likely to be a victim of a homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black person. That's why the cops are there. You can't give that stat without talking about differences in offending rates. And this is what this guy did. He left that part out.
And, you know, James Baldwin once said, the most despicable thing a person can be is indifferent to other people's pain.
And what you're doing, sir, is creating what's called the Ferguson effect. Cops pull back. Guess who gets killed? The people that you claim that you care about. The very same people living in the inner city. And now, in front of that Oscar audience, you just put out another misleading stat. I'm Larry Elder.